So I was watching and listening to Andy McCarthy on his podcast on Friday, and he said the case had collapsed going into the verdicts. And the reason he said that was because late in the week, and I talked about this at the top of our show today, late in the week, it came out that the FBI, the ones who had, supposedly been lied to by Michael Sussmann, he went in there at Hillary's behest. He basically said, hey, got a hot tip for you. Trump's been talking to some Russian bank called Alpha Bank. You should look into it. I swear I'm not here on behalf of anybody. Certainly not Hillary, who I represent, but she didn't ask me to come. I swear. Trust me. So that's what happened. But the FBI gave testimony in the case, a bunch of different people. And it came out that the FBI, in sicking its investigators on this, said to the investigators, we got a hot tip. Need you to investigate it. And the investigators, like any investigator, said, oh, who's the source? We need to know so we can figure out if it's credible. And the FBI honchos who got the investigators going didn't tell them that it was HRC's lawyer. They told them it came from Justice. So the FBI's lying to the FBI to try to cover the fact that this is a Hillary plant, this information. And even those investigators having been misled, they would have been really suspicious if they'd heard it came from HRC. But even having been misled, it took them about 2 minutes to say, this is bullshit. This is a lie. There's no connection between Alpha Bank, this Russian bank, and Trump. And why are you sending us on this wild goose chase? So the FBI looked terrible by the time this trial ended, which was only the latest in the reasons that the jury had or needed to say, we don't really want anything to do with this.
They did. The FBI looked really bad. And this is something that the Sussmann defense exploited throughout the entire trial. And it really created this unique dynamic in the trial, because what we had was special counsel John Durham calling all of these witnesses. Many of them were FBI agents, but some of those people were, they may have been in on it. They kind of may have been in on this scheme. And so what we ended up seeing as the trial unfolded was kind of this bifurcation, kind of this two-tier system that existed within the FBI. You saw the higher up people on the seventh floor, they call it, kind of the upper echelon decision makers at the FBI. And then you had some of the people that you were describing down sort of on the lower level, the actual analysts, the technical people who were unpacking all of the white papers and the thumb drives. And they knew from the very beginning that this was something that sounded like it was sketchy. But they got instructions from upper level at the FBI to say, basically, you continue to investigate this. And they conducted what's called a close hold, meaning they kept a lot of this information close to the chest so that the lower level technical FBI analysts were not able to really see the full story. And a lot of this testimony came out at trial, and the defense really used this, I thought, really, well, obviously they got a not guilty verdict. So they used it to their advantage by sort of making this about an FBI screw up. This isn't about Michael Sussmann, according to them, lying to the FBI. This is about a good citizen who went down, delivered this document because he was so scared about Trump and Putin and Russia and all that stuff. But that was all, legitimate. They're saying the FBI screwed it up with their investigation. They didn't ask the appropriate questions. And so the defense throughout the entirety of the trial kept sort of doing that. And the government would call FBI witnesses. The defense called FBI witnesses. And, kind of every single one of them was like, yeah, we kind of could have done something a little bit better here. We really did, kind of screw up the chain of command. We heard a lot of testimony about confidential human sources, and the people who were creating some of these white papers that Sussmann brought over were sort of known to the FBI. They were confidential human sources, but their information that was working its way up the chain didn't get communicated around appropriately within the FBI.
Right,
so the defense just said it's your fault.
So basically, the way I see it is you have two sides that are in bed together. Sussmann, Hillary's lawyer, and the FBI. They all wanted the same thing. Stop Trump. Get Trump. They all wanted the same thing. The information that's come out shows that a supervisory agent overseeing the FBI's Trump-Russia probe, Joe Pientka, sent a note to the FBI special agent, Curtis Hyde, saying people on the seventh floor, to include director, meaning Comey, are fired up about this server, this one that's allegedly connected from Trump to Alpha Bank. That's in writing. Then he messaged Hyde, making sure that a case had been opened, quote, reach out and put tools on. It's not an option. We must do it. Jonathan Turley saying they basically sounded like unindicted co-conspirators, the FBI. So these guys are in there. Even Baker, who was the lawyer for the FBI, he'd worked with Sussmann together a long time ago. He was there reluctantly. He's like, okay, he came in. Yes, he told me he wasn't there on behalf of any client. And then Durham's lawyer for the prosecutor said, yo, I know. And you wrote that in a text message explicitly. You had it in a text message he sent to you. Forgive me, that's what happened. And the text message sent to you the night before said, I'm coming over and I'm not coming on behalf of any client. And you didn't produce that to us, the prosecutors. That was an important document. Why didn't you produce that, Mr. Key Witness Baker of the FBI? And Baker said, this is your investigation, not mine. Nobody was there to help Durham. Nobody. Not the judge, not the jury, not the FBI agents, and certainly not Michael Sussmann.
You're exactly right. Every single person in there. It was a really weird thing to see because normally I'm a criminal defense attorney. Normally, when we are representing clients, we see the prosecution and the police officers and all of their witnesses like BFFs, best friends. They are in total sync. The prosecutor asks a question. The police officer sort of, ready, chomping at the bit to say the answer. But we didn't get a lot of that here. The witnesses were all sort of opposed, adversarial to the prosecution on both sides. Right. And even in a lot of the trial testimony, you mentioned some of the text messages that were sort of being sent back and forth. They were almost friends. I mean, Michael Sussmann and Jim Baker, Sussmann met with Baker at the FBI. They sat down and they had that meeting back in September 2016. But before that, they were sending messages back and forth. They were sort of, I would sort of joke that they go to the same cocktail parties, they're part of the same social circles. And during the actual meeting and after the meeting, Sussmann continued to engage with Jim Baker, sending him messages about him getting a new job over at Twitter, saying, hey, Jim, congratulations on the new job. I know you're going over there. Jim responded and said, Sussmann, I haven't even made this public yet. How do you know about all this? And so there's this sort of very interconnected web of nefariousness that is really, really pernicious. And I think that today was a disappointing verdict because we really wanted to see more of where this went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because what they needed to prove was that this guy Sussmann went into the FBI and that he lied by saying he was not there on behalf of a client when we all know he was really there to represent the HRC campaign, which was his client. I mean, we knew that. There's only a splitting hairs. Like, was that meeting, was that request on her behalf? And he said no, and Durham said yes. So that was one. Did he lie? And by the way, the jury hasn't told us why they found him not guilty, but it was one of these two things. Either they found he didn't lie, and Baker, who's the main lawyer on the prosecution side, the main witness on the prosecution side, he was the FBI attorney, general counsel, and he was the one who said, yeah, he told me he was there not on behalf of anybody, but he was kind of sketchy on the stand a little. It was that text message that got produced late that really put the lie to Sussmann. I mean, Sussmann was caught saying in a text, I'm coming over and I'm not representing anybody. Anyway, there were problems around that too, which I won't get into here. Then the second question was it material? Was the lie material? And I think this is where this all comes in, that the FBI knew that Sussmann represented Hillary. The FBI didn't give two damns whether what he said, how he disclosed what he was there. They couldn't have given a shit. They loved to investigate this. They were like, yes, you can see in the text messages, let's do this thing. And Sussmann's lawyer said, everyone knew he represented Hillary. Mr. Sussmann has Hillary for America and DNC tattooed on his forehead. And now the FBI, so excited about this information that they don't even pass on to the investigators that it came from Sussmann, her lawyer. So excited about it that they instead said, oh, we got it from Justice. Now they want to be like, oh, we were lied to and it misled us and we spent resources where we wouldn't have. Oh, bullshit. I mean, I know the jury is biased towards Hillary, but I think even a fair jury could have said, oh, please spare me. We got better things to worry about.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And there's a lot there. Michael Sussmann worked for this law firm called Perkins Coie, which was a major law firm for Democratic campaigns for the last, I think, 3 election cycles. So Mark Elias was another lawyer who worked at that law firm. He represented Kerry, Obama. And so, this was kind of just the latest iteration of the Democratic team. And the defense made a big point of that. They said, yeah, everybody knew who Michael Sussmann was. Michael Sussmann even had a badge to the FBI, right, to their headquarters. He never worked at the FBI headquarters, but he was a national security lawyer. And he had all sorts of conferences that he did talking about all of these issues. And Sussmann was actually somebody who also worked on the quote, Hillary email hack. If you recall back during 2016, and I know you certainly do, Megyn, but there was, a lot of activity about Hillary's emails saying that her campaign got hacked and it was the WikiLeaks saga and all of this stuff. Well, Sussmann was one of these lawyers that was sort of appointed to deal with that. He was to run point with the FBI on a lot of that. And so one of the arguments that the defense made was that they knew him from that. There were sort of these parallel things that were going on simultaneously. Hillary had the WikiLeaks Russia hack, but there was another Russia story, which was this Trump Alpha Bank collusion story that was being run parallel. And so at Perkins Coie, Michael Sussmann was the person in charge of the Hillary WikiLeaks email saga. And then they just sort of said, well, why don't you run point on this?
Black Rifle Coffee Company is a veteran-founded company serving premium coffee to people who love America. They develop their explosive roast profiles with the same mission focus learned as military members serving this great country of ours. Black Rifle Coffee imports high-quality coffee beans from Colombia and Brazil, and they roast them 5 days a week at their facilities here in Manchester, Tennessee, and Salt Lake City, Utah, which means you get the freshest coffee no matter where you live. Enjoy the awesome packaging and the unique flavors like Silencer Smooth, Lava Panther, and all of them sound so cool and so delicious, which they are. I can attest to that firsthand. The best way to enjoy Black Rifle's freedom-filled coffee is with the Black Rifle Coffee Club. If you join the club, you get your brew of choice roasted, packaged, and shipped free to your door on your schedule. You don't even have to worry about it. Not only do you save a trip to the store, but you receive special discounted pricing on roasts. You gain access to exclusive products, partner discounts, and you get to be part of the coolest club on the planet. And you get their cool mugs, too. Literally a win-win scenario. You can buy it all at blackriflecoffee.com. Use the code MK at checkout for 20% off your purchase and your first coffee club order. That's blackriflecoffee.com/MK. Use the code MK on checkout. Black Rifle Coffee is America's coffee. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.